So here we are. We're going to start our project week. I'm going to share a slide with you guys. And then we're going to get into covering what agile means. All right. There's a form of development when you're working on a team called agile development. And it has to do with the process of how a team works when working on a project. All right, so we're going to cover that because we're not just going to do a project week. We're going to do a project week and do it in the style of agile development. So you can get 2-in-1 as far as experience. You can show that you built your own personal project. And if a recruiter or potential employer ever asks you if you know what agile development, if the agile development process is, what that is, you can say you have experience in it now because you've built your own personal project with me as the stand-up coordinator for the agile development process that we'll introduce to you this week and then complete it. All right. So I've had that asked to me plenty of times from recruiters and from employers. Do I know what agile is? And when I was a student at the dojo, I got involved with the project with some other cohort mates, some other students, to help put together a website to test potential medical students. So we're creating a test for medical students, or we're just working for pizza. But when we worked together, we joined on a call every morning to talk about our process for what our progress is on the app, on the feature of the app that we would be designated to work on, either with another group member or just as an individual within the group. Okay, we're not working in groups unless you absolutely want to. If there's an awesome group project that you and some other cohort mate would like to work on that's not a profile page or something related, okay, you can come up with your own project as long as you can evenly distribute the work between yourselves and present on Friday. Okay, so that's the goal. So Friday morning, we're going to do our project presentations. This is our last meeting together before the graduation. And the graduation will encourage you guys, well, we're going to take attendance there, so you guys have to go. But what you'll see there is lots of advanced projects at the end of the graduation that will help inspire you to make projects in future stacks, in future stacks that you'll be learning either in Python, MERN, or Java, or C#, whatever you choose to learn. You'll see a bunch of apps built with those tools and technologies, and this will give you ideas for the kind of projects that you would maybe want to create in the future. Okay, so again, our goal is to present our projects this Friday, and I don't know, I'm still discussing with John. I think we may group up with John's class and just have a giant presentation. Okay, the goal is not to show yourself off like, oh, look at me, but to, yeah, do the best you can to show your work and then also gain ideas from other cohort mates, right? So you can gain a lot of inspiration by seeing what other people can do that they do different than you would, right? So you can gain ideas, you can gain lots of inspirational ideas in this presentation. That's what I find. Even still, as an instructor, I will see your guys' presentations. I'll learn something. I'll have an idea how to create a new project, and I'm sure you guys will get that through each other. Okay, but let's talk about how we can get to Friday. So let's start our slide and talk about project week. This thing isn't oriented right. Oh, there we are. Okay. Back up a little bit. Okay, no, that's good. All right, so project introduction. Let's look at this here. Project week introduction. So what we want you guys is to come up, oops, that was a zoom out. Come up with a design of a project, and we'll show you how to design your own project. Okay, we'll talk about some design rules, especially tomorrow morning, and produce a portfolio wireframe. Okay, in case you don't know what a wireframe is yet, I mean, we've had to work with plenty of wireframes already. wireframe is just the blueprint for the way that the page should look, right? So for example, the wireframe for your test told you what JavaScript features would go where and the way the overall look of the page should go, okay? So you're going to create your own wireframe this week, and we're going to present them this afternoon. So you're going to have to come up with an idea and a wireframe for this afternoon, okay? That's what we'll do this afternoon. And so let's talk about what we expect you guys to have in your portfolio, okay? Oh, one more thing I want to emphasize, that you want this design of this project to be within your abilities, and in a timeline that makes sense. Oh, Josh, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, I'm sorry about interrupting. I just wanted to know, you said that we're gonna have to make a portfolio or like a profile thing as well on top of the passion project?
No. So it's either or. Okay. I only want you guys to think of completing one project. I want it to be within your skill level and abilities, but I want it to be enough to fill in the next couple of days, to give you guys work for the next couple of days, including today. Okay. Because think about your wireframe that you had completed for your belt exam. You guys were able to do that within 5 hours, right? So that's one day's work pretty much. After those 5 hours, you can maybe put another couple hours, but you've spent your brain power. You're working hard for those 5 hours. You want to get in at least that much time each day, a solid block of work. All right. So that work that you've done on your belt exam, now think about creating a project that's bigger than that can be spread over 3.5 days work. Okay, because you have half of today, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday, you're wrapping it up so you can present on Friday. Okay, so think about enough work in your own wireframe for yourself that will give you enough for each day. Okay, and what will gear you toward is a portfolio page. Okay, again, you don't have to do a portfolio page. You can do a project. Let's say you've always wanted to create a website that would help your local pet shelter, right? You wanted to just have a website to list animals that the pet shelter has. So you just want to help them, right? You can do that this week, right? You can build that website, right? Because that's just a front-facing website. It doesn't need a database. It doesn't need anything in the back. You can build a project with APIs, right? We learned about APIs last week. You can build your project from scratch using HTML and CSS, or you can use Bootstrap now, right? You definitely want to build a project that is designed for mobile users, for mobile websites, because if this is a project that you're going to have on your portfolio, whether it is your portfolio or some other project, you're going to want to reference this work in the future, right? So make it in a mobile design so that potential viewer or recruiter or employer can see it on their mobile phone. That's most likely where they're going to see it anyways while they're on a call with you, right? They're going to say, oh, you have a website? Let me take a look. And they're going to click on their phone. They're going to see your website on their phone. As much design as you would have put into it, being on a desktop, it'll be on a phone. It's like filmmakers, right? They make movies to be on big screens, but most of us watch their movies on YouTube clips, right? And on our tiny little phone. So all that work into little details and design gets lost, but we got to do it anyways, because that's what we do, right? So you want to make a website fit for a desktop, fit for a computer, a laptop, but we also want to prioritize making it mobile to catch those mobile viewers. All right. So in our portfolio, which will gear you toward making, again, it's not essential. And if you can think of another original idea, you can run it by me. All right. We're going to present our ideas this afternoon. So that's going to be a check in case your project idea is way out there and not feasible. Okay. So we'll talk about that. But for a portfolio, you want an about me section. Okay. You want something to describe you as a person and your story. Include a photograph, so it's personal. Okay. or some other image. So maybe you have a logo, maybe you have a brand. Okay, so you can include all that stuff in your portfolio page. You want to list your technologies, the technologies that we're going to teach you here, the technologies you're going to master. Right now, you know that you can put HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, just because we're still learning these and we're getting better doesn't mean we cannot put that we're able to do this, right? Because you're able to build a decent looking website within 5 hours, and you're going to prove this week that you can make an even better looking website within a week's work. Okay, so put your skills on there, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because you can do it. Projects section, you want that there, outlining the work that you've completed with screenshots and links. We'll go over what this means in other project examples or portfolio examples. You want a contact me section with links to your email, social media, GitHub, everything on the web that's about you, right? Maybe not all your social media, but something that you have presentable that makes you look like a real person, right? Not like a total weirdo on social media. Have something there that makes you attractive, right? So next line, attract. You want an attractive visual design featuring HTML and CSS. Okay, HTML, CSS. So make it visually appealing. That's what you've learned to do. Now you can make it custom to your own way of design. Maybe you're not the best designer. Well, we'll learn something this week. We'll learn some features. We'll learn some tools that can help us with design as well. And you want an interactive feature requiring JavaScript in your project, right? We learned all this JavaScript. We don't want to just throw it to the wayside. So figure out a way you can incorporate JavaScript into your project. And lastly, we want our portfolio code to be accessible on GitHub, right? So that's going to prove that you built the website. You didn't just borrow it from somewhere else. You can show, I built this from scratch. This is me. This is my design. This is my work. All right. And lastly, portfolios should be deployed on GitHub pages. So GitHub pages, and I'll show you guys how to do that on, let me see, on Thursday morning. I'll show you guys how to deploy to GitHub pages. So what GitHub pages is a service through GitHub that allows you to make your project accessible to the web. So you can type in the name of your website. It'll most like, well, it will be a GitHub. It'll say GitHub your name and then the name of the project. But you can put at least one project from your GitHub repos. You can post that online, so you can access that through a www dot and then the link name. Okay, so we'll show you how to do that Thursday morning. That'll be the day before our presentation, so that way you can have it available to the web. And this little purple hexagon, all I wrote this in for is so that you can know that you can create a passion project instead of a portfolio. Okay, so I've had people build projects for their family members that are dog breeders. That specific family member needed a website to sell the dogs, so a website was built for contacting that breeder. There also was there's some abstract ideas that were done, okay, not necessarily websites or portfolios, but they were all done using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, so all the projects need to have those HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, whatever you decide. Okay, now let's talk about research. Okay, we are going to research some of our favorite websites to know some of our best some of our favorite designs, right? We've been on the internet since it's been out, right? We didn't discover it just a few years ago. We've been looking at websites for a while. We know intuitively which ones we like best. So I want us to just make a list of your favorite websites until, if you're having trouble coming up with the design, and list out in a notepad, right? Just write down what are your favorite features of your favorite websites, and which features do you want to incorporate into your own project? Is it a nav bar? Is it the way the page is laid out, with the sections on the page? Is it the JavaScript features on that website? What is it about your favorite website that you like, or your favorite websites that you can incorporate now into your own project? Okay, now let's talk a little bit about wireframing, right? This is the blueprint for our project. Let's talk about wireframing. If you're already familiar with Balsamiq, or perhaps you've exhausted your free trial, you can check out some of these, all right, if you've already used it. But if you don't know what Balsamiq is, I'll be explaining it. This is the tool that we've used to create the wireframes for your assignments and your tests. And you can access it through the platform. I'll get to this, all right? We'll go through this material on the platform. I'll show you how to access it if you haven't found it already. But we'll use Balsamiq. It's a website that will help us build wireframes. And if you already exhausted your free trial, because that's what they offer, all right, it's a paid service, but you can sign up for a free trial, all right, and you can use that free trial this week. But if you don't want to use it, there's these other tools, or you can even use any tool that will help you draw squares, right? Like I just draw squares whenever I wireframe something on just a black or white piece of paper, and then I draw it. So you can either, what I would do is, and this is what I usually do, is I have a notepad and I have a pen or pencil, and I just draw out the layout of the website by hand. And I go through different ideas. I sketch out several different websites. I look at them and I find the one that I like best. So once I find it, I translate that drawing into one of these tools, right? Balsamiq, or these others, Excalidraw, Just in Mind, Miro, or Pencil.evolus. All these hard to pronounce names, but you have these different services. I would take that sketch that is your favorite and then translate it over to one of these so that you can share your screen, and then you can show in a better quality that sketch or design, right? So start off with the pen and paper. Don't have to do all the hard work through a computer tool. Just draw something with your hand. And then once you find that perfect website layout, right, you're just drawing squares, right? It's square for a nav bar, rectangle for a nav bar, square for the profile page area. So once you find that design, translate it over to that tool, that wireframe tool, and that will save you some time, okay? Design your own website and map out major sections and features on the page, right? It's actually a lot of fun to do this. Now we're creating a website of our own from scratch, and you'll see what I mean, okay? It is a lot of fun. And lastly, I want to talk about the agile development process, okay? So agile development process, I already let us know that we're going to be doing this and doing stand-ups each morning, right? That's what this is related to, daily stand-ups. Whenever you say this word, it's related to the agile development process. Okay, so let's take a look at what that is. Teams typically develop features in sprints that last either 1 or 2 weeks, okay? This development process is different than the process called waterfall. There's a waterfall development process. They basically just lay out all the features and design, and they'll check with you once it's done, okay? That's not the process we're going to go through. We're going to check on you every day. We're going to check on you every day and see what features have already been implemented. And if you've implemented those features, what are your goals for the next day? If you had not implemented those features, I want to know from you what needs to be done in order to get that up and running, or what do you need to pivot to instead in order to not waste too much time on that feature. So this sort of process where we check every day and we focus on a feature or a couple features that we want to implement, and that span of work that lasts either 1 or 2 weeks, that's the agile development process. Okay, that 1 or 2 week long span is called a sprint, and each sprint consists of planning, meeting, daily stand-ups, and finishing with a retrospective meeting. So you want to assess where you are in your progress and let everyone else know what you're doing in order to fulfill those progress needs or pivot to something else that will better suit your time and work. Okay, so this will involve daily stand-ups, and we're going to talk about the goals that we're going to want to meet. And in order to talk about our goals, we're going to have to also write not just a wireframe, but a storyboard that should talk about what goals we should meet on which days. So for example, if you wanted to incorporate some really cool bootstrap feature, right? Let's say you built your whole website already on Tuesday. Wednesday's goal would be to implement some really cool bootstrap component. In order to do that, you want to put that as your Wednesday morning or Wednesday goal on your timeline. So we'll talk about timelines a little bit more in detail. I'm kind of just introducing it right now. All right, so we want a wireframe and timeline for our project. So lots of planning this week, right? So let's look at our platform. All right, if you go past the algorithm section, we're used to being on this JavaScript section. So we're going to tab to algorithms, and then one more time, we're going to get to the portfolio section. Okay, projects and portfolio section. Okay, so here's where I'm going to continue reading. And I am going to read up until this tab. I'm not going to read everything word for word. I know you guys can do that on your own. I just want to highlight the main things you guys want to recognize while you're reading. Okay, so tomorrow we'll cover UI UX, but you can read ahead, and it will help to read ahead. So I encourage you guys to read ahead. It's not that much reading for this week. It's mostly just your own projects. Okay, so let's talk about what MVP means. MVP, there it is, minimum viable product. What the minimum viable product is a bare minimum to show that your product is complete, right? Let's say you design a project for this week, and you don't know with the amount of features that you've given yourself to implement if you're going to finish it. And that uncertainty, because of it, we want to say at least we will do this much. Okay, so if you have 5 features, for example, and you know that your page needs at least 3 to be viable, that's going to be our minimum viable product. So that bare minimum that will get our page up and running. So that means that if you don't complete your project this week, then you can continue on in your own time, your weekends, your whatever time you have to work on your project, you can dedicate to that. But you want to be able to still present something that is viable, that it's showable to everyone else. So get to that goal, even if you don't 100% complete it, show something that's showable. All right. And so let's look at the project requirements. We went already over this, so we don't need to go over this. Now, let's look at some portfolios. And before we look at these, I want to preface this by saying these are good designs. They may look way intricate and complicated, but they're not. Okay, you guys can do each of these within the week. I'm sure each one of you can do any of these within the week. But I want to highlight that these are not perfect. Okay, these are not perfect, meaning they did not incorporate all the best UI, UX, and what that means is user interface or user experience. And I know we haven't defined those terms fully yet, but they don't have the best user experience or user interface. And what gives that is the color, the content. We'll devote a whole lecture to that tomorrow morning. Okay, but let's take a look at this first one. Here's a personal project. We have a nav bar, a landing page, name, web developer. Okay, and then there's more to the website, but we don't know to go down unless we just happen to scroll. Okay, but there should be some kind of arrow there. telling us, oh, there's more stuff. Click here below. This color scheme is okay. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard because the color contrast doesn't work. This white on gray, light gray, it's kind of hard to see. It's straining to the eyes. And we're going to talk about user design and user interface more tomorrow. What's some tools that we can use to avoid stuff like this. Okay, but let's take a look anyway, right? So the nav bar changes as we scroll. That's a cool feature. It's white until we scroll, and then it's blue, and then we can easily see his name, Kei Suyamura. And so then we go to his About Me section, and here he wrote something about himself. He put some images in there. And then here, between each section is an effect. This is a bootstrap effect called parallax. So it lets you scroll through a section of the image as you are scrolling through that section in a page. So this is called parallax, in case you guys want to look that up. Let me make a note. So let me write it down. Parallax. Okay, let me make it in red. Relax. Okay, so you can look this up for this effect on Bootstrap if you like it. Okay, I think it looks great, but it's kind of hard when the image is the file is too big. It will slow load. So just note that there's ways to reduce the file image size so this doesn't slow load when you're scrolling through the page. Here we see all the list of his technologies represented by the symbols those technologies have. So this is a little big, maybe a little messy, but still there, right? So it's there. That's what we want on ours. We want a list of our technologies. Doesn't have to be exactly like his. Here's just some inspiration for you. Okay, another parallax, and then a project section. So he has a header and then a link. And then we have a left section and a right section. This part here, this is a GIF. Okay, you can turn any video into a GIF, and you can record anything on your screen as a video, right? So you can take that video of you interacting with your own website to show some features. In this case, this is a more advanced project that has some things that happen when you click, right? So this map shows up. You can, well, this will be something for later on, but if you have a project that you can do this with, and maybe you want to do it, you can record a video of yourself clicking through your app or your project. And then once you have that video, you can convert it to a GIF and leave that GIF as an image, like an image on your page that just continually runs. And then you have a description of your app and then link to the code as well. So this is a GitHub link. This could be a little bit better centered than GitHub under the circle, but it's there. And you have that feature. It slides right in, it fades in as well. That's kind of cool. So you think of little features that will make your website interesting. Okay, so now we have another app, Forge. Here's an actual link to the website. Let's see if we can actually go there. I'm kind of scared of where it's taking me. Okay, so there's this website. You can buy something. And what is it selling? Previous games have you interacted with top available Twitch streamer. Maybe it's an old link. So it didn't really take me to where I thought I was going to go. So then we also have this app here. We have this one. We get the idea. This one here is specific to phones. So he incorporated the view on a phone. And then another parallax, and then the contact me section at the bottom. So these are just email, LinkedIn, a GitHub icon, SoundCloud, maybe he has a SoundCloud, and a YouTube, and a resume, Dropbox to his resume. I wouldn't leave it like that in a Dropbox, but he did. So you see that there. Okay. So this is one. You guys can take a look at these a little deeper yourself. This one I'm not such a big fan of. This is a lot of white. All right. But this one scrolls through two different intros. So it has some kind of active intro here. You can download the resume from the click there or view portfolio. And we have a nav bar on the left. This takes us to different sections, as you can see here. Takes us to different services that we can apply. This one, this one's the different sections of the page flow in nicely as you click. So this one here, he's graded himself as 75% proficient in C#. What that means, don't know, but he's felt like that's a good number to level himself up as. All right, so you can do something like this. I did this at one point. Just say, hey, well, you know, because it's a general question you're asked anyway by recruiters. How'd you rank yourself 1 through 10 on CSS? And you just go, 9, right? Because what are you going to say? So this is what he's doing. He's just saying, look, I'm pretty confident as a CSS developer. I'm going to put myself at a 9 out of 10, 90%. You can do that too, because they're good. It's not a good question, but they're going to ask anyway. So here's the answer. All right. So he's graded himself as a Bootstrap, Ajax, Mongoose, React developer, different frameworks. Basically, this is just a list of technologies and how confident he is in each one of them. Okay, so database technologies, unit testing technologies, cloud computing. This is a lot. But he's really putting himself out there like, I can do all this. You have an education section, and here we have the accordion, so you can click open each education section. If you're interested in George Mason University, you can click his plus sign there, and it'll show us that he was certified in an ethical hacker course. All right, so cool. Now we have his certifications, his experience, a lot of stuff. It doesn't have to be this complex, but Kate has put it all out there. Portfolio, organizations associated with, and finally the contact info, where you can send your name and an email and then a message and then a CAPTCHA as well to filter out robots. So there's that. Okay, so we have 2 out of 4 done. Let's take a look at this one. This one, okay, it's a different color palette. It has that arrow signifying you can go down. It could be a little bit more obvious though. And then you have a nav bar above, home, about, and if you click any part, or if you hover any word in the nav bar, you see it changes color. And if I go to the about now, it'll scroll down to the about me section. So that's done using an anchor tag. And another percentage assessment plus a bio, really simple. Okay, then what I do, just this description here: design, development, problem solving, not as elaborate as Kate's, right? Much more simplistic. Then we have the list of apps. Okay, so here's one: the book club, schedule keeper, team manager, traveler. This is for like a travel app. And then a picture of herself, and then get in touch through the email, GitHub, or LinkedIn. So you have a simple example. Okay, this could be a little better too. Maybe these icons could be spread out a little bit more, but here we have a GitHub or email and LinkedIn. And a copyright. Did she really copyright it? I don't know, but it's there, so why not believe it? Okay, so here it is. And last, let's look at Akimi's. This one's a pretty animated website. See, we have this circle that's constantly orbiting her profile picture, and our nav bar is using like more of like a comic style font. So if we go to the about section, she is really into machine learning, and she has goals as a software developer. And this is her first project. A little bit different layout. She made it personal in writing a blurb in each section. So it's like she's telling a story about her experience. After thorough reflections, I made a decision to join immersive coding bootcamp at Coding Dojo. During 15 weeks at my bootcamp, I learned these technologies. And then this shows her GitHub progress in a GIF. I don't know if this is accurate to her profile, but it's just a GIF there. So you can click on her GitHub and see her progress there. So she was active in June. She took a somewhat of a break. And this is what recruiters are seeing, by the way. When they see that you're a bunch of green in this area, they see, okay, actively pushing to GitHub, so actively coding during this time, but maybe through October to May, how can we know that they've been practicing as a developer? So we want to keep this consistently filled with green stuff until you get a job. Green dots.
Couldn't they? It looks like maybe she had a contract position.
Yeah, maybe she had a job and she had no time to push her own stuff. So that's an explanation. But just so you guys know, you want to have this all green, right, for yourselves. So let's continue. There's Akimis and GitHub pages. GitHub pages, we're going to talk about this on Friday. No, Thursday morning, excuse me. Thursday morning. You can look into it yourself. It's not that hard to figure out. But if you want to push your website so that you can view it online, let's see if any of these use GitHub pages. This one uses GitHub pages. You see how it has her GitHub name .github.io. This is a website hosted on GitHub pages. So this is what we're going to be doing, taking our projects and hosting them online. Now let's go next. All right. Agile development. We've talked about this already. We don't need to click the manifesto. What we want to do is write stories. So stories being like a timeline of what you're expected to do this week. So you want to say in the stories, as a user, I want to be able to click my nav bar and go to different sections on my page so that the user can easily navigate through the website. Okay, so write your user stories in this structure. Who's going to do it? What's the feature? What's the benefit of using that feature? Okay. So we're going to learn how to do agile development, and you may not fully grasp it, but once you see people presenting or that you yourself have to present, I'll ask you the right questions that will tell me where you are on your project, what you need to do next. And so by this afternoon, okay, because we're coming to a close of this lecture, by this afternoon, what I want you guys to have finished is a wireframe. So let's go to a wireframe app. Here's Balsamiq, a link to Balsamiq. So you can sign up for the free membership there, log in, put in your credentials, get that free trial, use Balsamiq if you like, or use the other free ones, okay? And then start building your website. You have a tool here that will show you how to build it. It's really intuitive, so it doesn't really take much practice to learn how to build a wireframe. And again, I encourage you guys, draw it by hand first before you start using these tools. So build and design a wireframe for your project. And then the next thing you want to do is I'm going to link it here. It's not, it mentions it on the platform, but it doesn't give you a link. It's a Trello board. So this is where you can write your timeline. I will link it right here in the chat. Okay, in case you guys need it. I will also link it in the Discord. Okay. So this is for timeline. So creating your timeline. So by this afternoon, what I want you guys to have done is the wireframe. So that's done through one of these services. That's gonna be the blueprint of your web page, and a Trello board that's going to give us a time frame for each of the features that you would have completed by which day. So for example, let's say you complete all the HTML and CSS on Tuesday, then you start working on all the JavaScript features on Wednesday, then Thursday, you leave that day open for another outstanding feature, or in case you don't meet your goal on Wednesday. Okay, so you can also leave yourself a little buffer room, but we don't want to waste time this week, right? We don't want a day where we're not working on anything related to our project. So think of how you can make goals for each day related to your project, what you plan to complete related to your project that day. Okay. So that pretty much wraps up this lecture. Does anyone have any questions for what we're going to be doing? Okay. You can use this as your reference. You want to follow these instructions. What we want to do is be able to, after what we're going to do this afternoon is take our timelines, take our wireframes, our project ideas, split up into groups, and then we're going to present them to each other in small groups. Whatever critique or feedback we get in those small groups that are helpful to us, or if we get inspired by someone else's wireframe or a Trello board, then we can make those adjustments. And then once we finish in small groups, we're going to do half this afternoon in small groups, and then the rest, we're going to present our projects that we're going to complete for the rest of the week. Okay, and then every morning after we do our morning algorithm, we're going to do a stand-up to present our progress on our projects, as well as maybe do a little lecture on something really introductory, like UI, UX. So maybe like 30 minutes for that tomorrow morning, and the rest is going to be showing me your progress on your project. Okay, so like this whole week is a giant code review of your own project. I'm looking at your project, you're showing me how far you've gotten, what you need to do, and if you get stuck on something, maybe we can work out how to fix it together. All right, so does anyone have any questions about what we're doing this week?
I don't have any questions about what we're doing this week, but I need to get my project idea approved from you. We're doing that after this.
Okay. Yeah, you can always drop in my room, ask me, hey, is this a great project idea? I don't want to do a portfolio, but I want to do something like this. And then I'll let you know. Yeah, if it's doable.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, you are all invited to my room in case you have those questions come up. Like you're not sure if your project's good or your ideas for your project are doable within a week. Always drop by my room or even Colby's to ask to get some feedback. Okay, what you need to do in order to complete your project or even have a good project. Okay, so drop by our rooms. We'll create the breakout rooms now, and then we'll get to working. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Any other questions before I close out? Okay, none? All right, just thought I'd ask. All right, so let me stop sharing. Stop the recording.